I think that this is a very difficult time in journalism. The rules are being rewritten, but there is a future in journalism, and I believe that people need quality information, and people will demand quality information because they need it to make good decisions in their lives. So the profession is not going to go away. It may not be on a newspaper, but it's not going to go away. And I think that this is a great time for young people to get into the field, in part because it's an era of incredible experimentation and innovation, and you can innovate. There are lots of ways for young people to use the web in creative ways that we haven't even thought of before. And I also think that it's just the vehicles for online journalism are also proliferating. I mean, things like the Huffington Post and all of the bloggers that have been successful, they're just all new vehicles for doing the job. And I think it's going to be a great profession for young people, so I would be optimistic. The main challenge is the business model. How do we make money selling quality journalism? That is the big question of the era. And I think everybody's struggling with that because consumers never really paid for all of it. It was mostly paid by advertising, though consumers did pay something. They paid something for circulation. Now there's nothing for circulation, and we all know that online advertising isn't the same as print advertising or broadcast advertising. So we have to come up with the new business models, and they're not clear yet. And I think that that's the real concern for everybody, is can we make money in this business? And I think now you're seeing editorial people thinking more about the financial sustainability issues. There used to be a strong line between church and state. Now there's thought about, we've got to be a viable organization. What does that mean for us editorially? And there are issues concerning that. And there's also, everybody's talking about multiple streams, but a lot of it is still untested. So we have to see whether the industry is creative enough to really define some true multiple streams and get people to pay for it. I believe that ultimately people will pay for quality information and that they'll need it. But, I want to be proven right. First, you have to know the basics. You have to know good basic journalism. You have to know how to tell a good story. You have to know how to get the facts. You have to know how to analyze the facts. You just have to be you have to do your homework, you have to research, you have to get out there and interview and do a really great job. I actually think that you should even go deeper than that, and young journalists should gain an expertise. If you have an expertise, it will distinguish you in this very, very crowded and noisy field, and you'll stand out because you've got a specialty that people want to read about and people want to hear about. So I think that would be my advice to a young journalist, is go in and go deep. But you also, you need to stay fresh. I think it's, in many professions you have to go back and take courses and learn, in dentistry and medical and all these fields, you just have to stay current because the field changes rapidly. It's definitely the case in journalism now. We don't even know half the tools that we'll be using in 3 years. We didn't know 3 years ago that we could use Twitter. And think of what the Twitter revolution has done to journalism. So you just have to be open-minded and curious and stay on top of the latest technology. Way back when, before the internet was powerful, a lot of newspapers had monopolies or very strong positions in the market, and they could afford to have their reporters have bureaus in Washington, D.C. or London or wherever, depending on Moscow, wherever they are, and people would be writing their version of the story for their local audience. But oftentimes there was a huge amount of duplication and a huge amount of repetition that was going out there. What the internet's done is it's exposed the duplication. And anything that's duplicative is not where you should be. I mean, a newspaper should know what they provide to their audience that's unique. We talked here a lot about scarcity. Your scarcity as a local paper is to really own the local scene. and you have to own it. And if you can make it the best source for local information, the way they talked about Boston.com, people will go to the website and check it out and use it constantly. So you have to know what is your specialty and go for it and focus on it. They talk a lot in the U.S. about hyper-local. I think it's just knowing what your community wants that it can get only from you. And that's where the local newspapers have to concentrate. And if they do that, they'll have a good business and they'll have lots of readers. I think it's actually more challenging for some national papers that are more national and regional. So in a way, I think it's a little easier for the local papers.